Okay, let's start the session today. Okay, my name is Kevin, I'm the host for today, for the sessions today. There is a session right now going on from 2 o'clock to 3:30 by ABA, Association, Blockchain Association. And later on at 4 o'clock, there's another session sharing about horse value in NFTs. So do go on. I think some of you already have the links as well for the second session, but let's start with the first one. First and foremost, welcome everyone to here physically with us, and for those who are online right now, welcome you as well. Sorry for the delay because people still coming in. We are trying to make sure everybody hears correctly. Now, if you can't hear me or anyone else in the audience, please give a shout if you are online, right? Give a shout to the chat in the Zoom. Let us know so that we can probably adjust. But if not, I'll just assume that you're able to hear everything. Thank you. The first one, the session is on 3 sessions today, right? The first one is about the FSMA 2022 session. The second one is actually on a very casual chat about the crypto in Singapore, right? And the third one is actually sharing from 2 very project owners or people who run projects about setting up in Malaysia, right? How is the Malaysia community right now with regards to cryptocurrency? Very good sharing from actual practitioners. Without further ado, let me start on the first one now. So a bit about myself. I used to be from Blockchain Association of Singapore. In fact, I co-founded back in 2018 with Mr. Chia Lai. And then from there, we became Blockchain Association of Singapore. So I was also in that regulatory and compliance subcommittee. So I'm not new to this because back in 2022, when I was just studying when these new regulations were going to come out, because it was passed in Parliament 2022, just that it was never implemented back then, or rather not enforced. So I was involved in submitting consultation paper to MAS during the response to consultation paper back in 2022. So this is not new to me. In fact, I was saying that this will come for years. No one believed me, and true enough, suddenly in June, you suddenly see a lot of crypto companies suddenly closing down or moving elsewhere, right? Or for those who are still here, still figuring out how can they continue to stay in Singapore. So I'm just going to share a bit about this. Again, I do not represent any law, just that enough in this space. I've applied for licenses. I kind of like give advice to people applying for licenses with MAS, not just in Singapore, but in many different countries as well. So I'm kind of familiar with this space. So I'll just share with you what we know about the FSMA 2022. It is an omnibus act. The word omnibus means it covers everything. So this is not specifically covering just cryptocurrency, right, for digital assets. This covers your securities, this covers insurance, it covers payment services, it covers everything. That's why it's called Omnibus Act. It introduced some requirements, particularly for digital token services, which is why we are here today talking about this, right? So essentially, last time, a lot of companies, because they are not applying for a payment license in Singapore, because they're saying that, oh, I'm not serving any Singapore customers, right? Singapore users. I'm just supporting users outside of Singapore, so I don't need to have a license because that's what the Singapore license is for. Now, but going forward, because of this enforcement, even though it's passed in 2022, MAS decided to take action on this right now. They are now targeting people. So, which is why in June they said that companies are given end of June to actually kind of comply, which is near impossible within a month, or get out of get company out of Singapore. So, which is why this happened, right? So it provides for companies that actually provide current digital token services, essentially your cryptos or essentially your digital assets outside of Singapore, catering to other markets, right? You are caught under that as long as you are registered in Singapore, right? Whether you do marketing, whether you say they are doing operations in Singapore, but you don't target Singapore users, it's actually caught under that as well. So what are the things that you are caught, right? This is actually, again, remember the word omnibus, it covers everything, right? If you are in doubt to what does it cover, just remember the word omnibus, it covers everything. So buying and selling, of course, your cryptocurrency, OTC, stuff like that. And then, of course, token exchanges, like for instance, running crypto exchanges, right, Bybit, etc., who doesn't have a license, they are caught under that. And then there's, transferring tokens, between wallets and, for some of these people having the service. And of course, arranging tokens transactions. So you're soliciting, so-called brokering. So a lot of people who actually arrange all this, right? Like for instance, I have a Bitcoin deal, 1,000 Bitcoin, arranging for that kind of thing. That is also called under that. Of course, a lot of people doing on the fly, nobody needs to know. But if it's being known, you have actually broke the law, right? Safeguarding digital asset is your custody service also come under that. Even though you are saying that, oh, I'm not custodying any Singapore services, they're custodying overseas, you come under that. And of course, advisory or support services related to tokens. Now, the word advisory and support service is important. So if you are marketing outfit, right? Basically a lot of KOL marketers and all that, all these people, right, they are called under this. It's actually called under that as well. Then there's another one that everyone also try to ask, and then they are kind of like, you know, whether is it called, is you have a whole bunch of people who advertise trading services on Facebook, like Crypto Academy or whatever, Funny Academy, right? Now, the thing is that as long as if the academy is telling people to trade in a fictional exchange, let's say, like my favorite Green Bear exchange, right? This doesn't exist. You say trade there, everything is virtual, it's fake, it's a game and all that, and I'm not under that. But let's go this way. All these traders and all that, trading academies tell people to trade Binance, trade Bybit. The moment you solicited that, you're telling people to trade there because the of your trading program, they are called under this act. Just that all these people are still ignorant and they are just going ahead. So just waiting for MS to catch a few to enforce that. So this is exactly what's called under that. Okay, next slide. Okay, the question is that do you need to have a license, right? What is the FSMA license in the first place? Now, there are two licenses in Singapore right now, right? First and foremost, the Payment Services Act license, which I assume most people know, right? That difficult to get, people have struggled, and some have already gotten the license. However, what MAS actually insists for license holders for Payment Services Act is actually to target clearly Singapore customers, be it enterprise customers or retail customers. Now, if you have a need to actually target majority outside of Singapore, then MAS will ask the question, why are you having a license that cater to Singapore when you have target majority outside of Singapore, right? That's always the question. So, however, they don't stop you if you already have a Payment Services Act license. The thing is that you need to do as a licensed entity is to keep a hell of audits, right? You do audits to about your overseas customers. Now, for those that are, so basically you have a Payment Services Act license, right? The PSA license under digital payment tokens, you do not need to have that. Then of course you are exempt, if you are exempt from licensing under the Security Features Act, the Payment Services Act, or the Financial Advisory Act, right? All these, if you're exempt, you're fine, right? You're not under that. And of course, there's various other public statutory corporations under the Banking Act, etc. You are not under that. Now, you do not need to have a separate license if you're already holding all these valid licenses in Singapore. Now, however, people question, right, what's the license they require that keep talking about this FSMA? No, this basically is called the Digital Token Service Provider, DTSP, right? Now, if you read the news, MS already said that after saying that, yes, you need to have the license, the next line after saying, sorry, we are not giving out the license. So essentially it's saying that you need to have a license, but I'm not giving you the license. It's just telling you that don't bother, right? They say very clearly that you won't give a license, it's going to be very difficult. And I mean, that's the biggest hint. Typically, MS never say such thing, but when they say such things, take note means that you won't get it. As clear as that. Okay, let's see. Okay, next slide. Okay, so to any of these local payment services act, entities have to comply. Yes, they do because they're really licensed. As it is, they already have the licensing requirements to actually, they are regulated. So in short, they have already to comply with that. Like I said, this is not a new license specifically. It is an act that covers all other licenses in Singapore, be it Security Features Act, be it Payment Services Act, be it banking, everything, right? Insurance and all that. Just that it's now focused, I mean, everybody's interested is because for crypto, right? The thing is targeted crypto very deeply. So, which is why the question is that. So, again, right, even then, as they are already regulated, they are already covered by all these technology risk management and prohibition orders. Now, this PO is pretty important to explain a bit here right now. Last time, in the days before this happened, when something happened to a company, especially a financial institution, or a company that's deemed to be a financial institution, like a crypto company, even though they are not licensed, right? They only target the directors, they target the shareholders, and probably the management. So these are the ones that can go for jail. Under the FSMA, right? Who is actually going to be targeted as well? The employees. So you cannot say that I'm just working for the company, I don't know anything. Sorry, I also being targeted that. So you can be charged in court for that as well. Next one is service provider. If you are a law firm, you are accounting firm, you know exactly what they're doing, you're just keeping quiet, you are complicit to that as well. So that's also being targeted. So PO actually applies to quite a family of people, right? And I was always talking to people, right? Even the cleaning auntie in the company, she knows that they're doing and they don't say anything, but that's the joke. Okay, so in short, this is how it should actually happens now. So what happens to people that look into this, what are they going to do? Again, right? I'm not a law firm, neither am I here to actually give advice what you should do. But always take note that if you are really caught under that because you're a company operating in Singapore with crypto and you have a lot of crypto activity, check the lawyer, right? What should we do? Should we move everything outside of Singapore or should we some functions here? Because you see the key things, right? And these are key. The MS doesn't catch you if you are protocol or a technology provider. So like for instance, you are Ripple protocol, I think XRP protocol, right? You're just running protocol, you're not pushing the tokens, you're not pushing anything, you're just developing the blockchain or Ethereum foundation, developing the blockchain itself. You're not caught because as technology provider, you're not caught under that. However, the moment you're talking about selling your tokens, you're shielding the tokens, etc., then we are caught under this, which is why all the exchanges that doesn't have the license have already moved their operations outside. And then you probably heard and shared a bit, some exchanges who has been operating here without a license, they have moved their so-called employees out. Some of them actually so-called inverted comma, I won't say terminated, but they say stop employing, but actually they are kind of remotely still working now. There is something that not for me to comment, but from what I understand as well, one of the scenarios is that if you are a company resident in Singapore, you say, yes, I don't have any Singaporean employees, but you have employees elsewhere doing the work as well, or you have Singaporeans moving over there, you could be caught under this as well. So there are certain scenarios that get you caught, and then there are certain kind of like combination that allows you to be not breaking this particular law. So yes, just quick sharing on this. Again, if you are in doubt, always check with your legal advisor and all that, or reach out to ADA if you have certain questions. People in the regulatory subcommittee will help to answer. If you have some thoughts about that. So right, and of course, some being helping out, right? So yeah, reach out to the association and let's answer as much as possible in terms of your questions about that. Any questions here from online? From the Zoom, any questions or any questions here? No question or anyone from Zoom asking questions, right? Okay. Without further ado, I think which links to the next event. So without further ado, let me just welcome Mr. Jeremy Tan who's here for the next event, which is our next session, together with Miss Karen Gill. Yeah, thank you. Sorry. I get the message.
Hello everyone, how are you here? Thank you for taking the time to come here. Hi. Okay, so today I'll be the moderator and we have Jeremy Tan here, as you know. He's known as Mr. Bitcoin Singapore. So how did the name come about? How did this? Yeah.
Okay, so on the election forms, you are allowed to put in your vernacular name. So if you fill in, for example, if you don't be associated with your parents' surname or anything like that, for example, like maybe like Josephine Teo included, right? Okay, Josephine Teo is not NRIC name, lah. So you can actually fill in a vernacular name. So it's optional, lah. So in the Malay section, I was inspired to put the ancient Bitcoin because I saw Ho Chi Minh on his old forms, he was ancient Ho Chi Minh, so I thought, okay, quite great to try. In the end, they didn't approve it, but they did give me rejection reasons, so I just thought it was quite funny. So that's how I know it. Yeah.
What drew you to the world of crypto?
I think I've said this quite a few times already, but really the most actionable point after the great financial crisis was learning about Bitcoin. And back then, I believe at one point in time, I was able to withdraw from some certain faucets, like at least 100 plus Bitcoin, but I didn't know where the wallet was. Yeah, that was probably the most painful. But the first experience was buying on Mt. Gox. They repaid some, but not everything.
A lot of pain here. But I'm sure quite a few of the crypto friends won't probably feel the same, right? Most of us have stories too. Yeah. So recently, right, with MS, we have the new rules and things like that. what do you think it applies to Singapore?
Yeah, I think the TTSP part is actually closing the jurisdictional arbitrage. I mean, this is something that people talk about Bybit and Bit getting affected, but mostly I think they've already positioned themselves wisely since 2022, knowing that this is not the new law, but it's just the enforcement of it. I am, of course, slightly concerned by the way this projects confidence, because I think what the FAS should have done is a little bit better in comms, not in the actual law, but the actual communication of it. So maybe it's about engaging the stakeholders and all the different licensed exchanges and all the token providers to provide a statement together in some sense, and also to say that typically the business can still go on, they are still interested to invest here, they are still interested in the regulation here, because as far as I'm concerned, we have a very good stable coin regulatory regime here, and that's something that I think we should have allowed to be the optics of it instead of like, oh, we are going to start enforcing things, because the problem with me Web3 and crypto is all the news are almost AI generated. So the moment you see that the news about, right, there are so many things that syndicate, chain, all that news about, and it looks bad for us.
So I guess from like even when I saw the news and all this, right, we can see that a lot of companies plan to leave Singapore, right? Because they're a little bit too strict already. So because of this, right, our dear neighbors like in Dubai or in Hong Kong, they kind of benefited, right? So yeah, I totally agree with that.
I think even Thailand, right? I think Thailand as of yesterday just got its first Bitcoin treasury company listed. One thing that I am very much trying to convince the authorities and people in power that actually as Singapore matures with the stablecoin industry and Bitcoin, I'm not so sure if we have the capacity to do AML KYC like in the old way. And I feel like this aspect of acknowledging that we cannot do those types of AML and KYC is important, because we don't want to lose business simply by promising that our regime is well regulated. It's something that we can monitor people. I unfortunately think that with the rise of USDT and USDC and even with Paxos USDG, right, you will not be able to really track where money comes from. I unfortunately think this is the reality going forward, right? And so when we talk about criminal activity and whatnot, it's important to know whether or not we are able to enforce the laws that we propose, the laws that we have legislated.
Actually, I have another view on this. In the past, for most of the, I would say the things that shouldn't be on board, they use cash, right? They try not to. And cash is even much more difficult for you to track. But anytime, as long as one of the wallet that has interacted with any of the gray areas, right? Once it's tracked, actually it's possible to really come up with evidence, and because the trace of the money is already there, the blockchain. So actually, I thought if I'm somebody who want to bring money across, or do all the dirty money laundering, right? Cash is still the best way. Anytime it touches wallet, right? Unless you copy it, of course, there's ways to constantly come up with new wallet that tries to try to mitigate things like that. But with AI and technology and with all our tracing software, right? Because it's even easier to trace the source of the movement of the money. I guess right now still there's a pros and cons, I would say. Yeah. Okay. So let's look at recently with crypto up and down, this. So recently, is there any projects or things that you feel excited with?
Yeah, unfortunately, Bitcoin in Singapore is not as exciting because we technically, if I'm not wrong, the first rule that needs to change is that all the ETFs on SGX, I think it cannot be a single product, single asset ETF. So you cannot get a Bitcoin ETF in Singapore as long as the rules in place. The second part is that Bitcoin is recognized as an intangible asset in the balance sheet, and you cannot have more than 25% of your assets held in intangible assets if you want to be on the SGX. So that is a structural limitation that cannot be changed only by the MAS. It needs to be changed in consult with MOF as well, right? And IRAS as well, right? So that issue is the thing that really is not as exciting. But what's more exciting is that with the Genius Act coming aboard and with the stable, with stablecoins becoming a bit more relevant here, I think we're gonna see more projects try to start things here instead of BVI and Cayman, right? Because even I think Open Eden does not allow access to their USDO here. But I think increasingly you will see Paxos and even Circle, even the JPM dollar, you'll start to see stable coins flow from institutional adoption down to retail. And I think where there might be an undercurrent of crypto adoption is that even DBS RM and DBS treasurers, they are offering crypto products to their accredited investors and all that private banking. I think the next place that crypto will take shape and form will be in the ILPs. I think the next wave will be financial advisors will be able to sell crypto products based on the regulation that's shaping up so far for the product sheets and the kind of things that go inside the asset, what's being managed by the asset managers. I think that's where you start to see more of Bitcoin related yield products in the future.
But of course, some of us may have seen the DBS charges quite a bit for when you use their service or crypto related, And then if I'm an investor, I need to be affiliated first, and then I can do it. But when you're using crypto, any one of us can go to a DeFi platform and we'll still be able to do it. So I guess it kind of make it more inclusive in the way that we have more DeFi solution. Then but with all the stable points, right, I thought there's one more risk, which is because all of them are USD, and USD has been creeping slowly, right? There are rumors that.
I think under our framework, stablecoin framework here, you can issue in any of the G10 currencies, as long as you hold them either they call it what single currency stablecoin. You can hold them here in any of the G10 currencies, right? And the money must be here, right? And of course, with US dollar, I think it's coming to a point where eventually US dollar and Sing dollar will hit parity at some point. That's my thinking. I think it will hit parity at some point in time. People say that's ridiculous, but at one point in time, US dollar was also about 1.19, and then 2 years, 3 years ago, at 1.45. So it is not surprising that you'll hit 1-to-1 eventually, given the way that the big beautiful US passed yesterday, I think. On July.
Yeah, and usually Singapore's currency has been strengthening across the board in all countries. So, what other than stable coins, right? There are so many crypto projects out there, different industries, right? Do you have any views?
Yeah, I think the one that's starting to look quite interesting would be the Gemini Bitcoin credit card. The one that returns you Bitcoin to you in terms of your cashback. We don't have that yet, but I think they are working to bring it here. Gemini is working to bring it here. So the Bitcoin card will be very interesting because there's probably like the first time that you get back an asset in your cashback, but it's appreciating, I guess. Yeah, right. It's not being debased. Yeah, so that is a very interesting card. I generally like crypto cards that are stablecoin link card. Even the event that was at D card, that one is interesting because you can just top up directly into your wallet and spend it. So you can just whatever money you have on RAM ready, you can just send it over and spend it. The other one also is this. So I think those those cards will enable more adoption because the moment you get rewards from spending and whatnot, then you probably be more interested in knowing what else your on-ramp assets can do. One interesting thing I thought was Base app also launched a hyper-liquid. They have some project done together. So now with your Base card, your Base app, it links to your hyper-liquid wallet also. So this text together with your so it's quite interesting.
So you see that as more of such products that comes out, I think more retailers will then get to learn about Bitcoin, get to learn about cryptocurrency in a way, right? And then last month we had an interesting news, right? Our Robinhood also launched its own crypto wallet.
Yeah.
I think that also helps a lot. I don't know if our Singapore.
I think Robinhood doesn't issue its own stable coins, right? It's they use Paxos, right? They partner with Paxos. And also with Robinhood, I think they are coming to Singapore soon.
Anybody can, out of 200 countries, can actually buy the cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah. Which, well, of course, the most controversial with Robinhood recently is the tokenization of the OpenAI stock, right? Which the equity is not really nice, it's just their stick.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a big change now. So anybody may be able to kind of legally have the non-listed price on the listed non-listed project is to trade on it. So I don't know if one day Singapore will allow that.
Other expert detail.
Later we can discuss. After this session, maybe we can have a Q&A if you guys want, if you have any questions. Right, yeah. So maybe to end it, you can share with us what you think is the future of Singapore's crypto ecosystem. Are we heading the right way? Are we going to win this race?
Yeah, so I think I made in private comments, the government, MOF, is that in Biden's administration, it is okay to not be pro-crypto, but it is impossible to not be pro-crypto in Trump's administration. Specifically, when Trump is very explicit about how much crypto holdings he has, how many senators are on board with it, the genius, and even all of the individual states proposing their Bitcoin reserve frameworks. I think we stand to lose a lot if we don't start pushing for more pro-Bitcoin, pro-crypto laws. For example, I'm not allowed to say, buy Bitcoin on Coinbase. This ad is paid for by Coinbase. In Singapore, you can't do that, right? So under the crypto retail advertising laws, that is not permitted. I don't see why that is a sensible law, given that you are able to buy all kinds of CFPs, you are able to buy all kinds of companies on capitalists which have no liquidity at all. You're able to buy all kinds of funds and products, or using your endowus with really no friction at all, right? So that makes absolutely no sense. And secondly, I think with the advent of the IB ETF, it makes no sense that we do not have a comparable legal framework to just copy the IB ETF over here. The reason is, is it because we are stung by the pain of FDS, which we got back quite a bit of money already, but they are trying to, within the market, they're trying to unlock the gains back from FDS, the returns from the FDS crash, but then I think the investment committee is very scared to touch their money as well, right? I see the one thing and the most important thing that we all must do together is to push for, at least on the basis that the IB ETF has cleared all legal guardrails in the US, we should have one ourselves, right? Just an SGD denominated Bitcoin ETF. Bitcoin ETF only. We can't do that because we can only have people want to have dual assets in their ETF memberships. That makes no sense whatsoever, right? We tend to follow the US, so we should follow the US in this aspect. I think this is the most important one. There is no basis of why Bitcoin must be denominated in US dollar whatsoever. We can buy our own Bitcoin with Sing dollar, right? I think that's the most important regulatory change we all must push for.
So from what I think, this is a funny thing I look at. When I first touched on crypto, right? I was excited because I thought, oh, this is going to be a decentralized world. We're going to be in a world whereby everybody have the chance to purchase any assets we want to. We can get a yield. This is not kept for only the accredited investors. But after 7 years, right, I look at it that way. It's back into our government has to say yes, the aggregators have to say, the regulation have to say yes, and then again, the rich and the affluent will be the first batch to get it. But I feel that education can make a difference because with education, by you understand what's rewarded by platforms, we have the ability to do this without having all this all agreed upon. So I feel education will help.
Yeah, I think as more countries put on regulatory ease to put Bitcoin ETFs or Bitcoin related products, we'll get more of the decentralization back. If we have more and more countries using USDT, USDC to buy Bitcoin, unfortunately, then we are always going to be strengthening the US fiscal dominance across the world, right? And I think that's not very healthy for crypto and Bitcoin. I think what is healthy for crypto and Bitcoin is real world use. I think in Singapore, it's very hard to convince a Singaporean to buy a Singaporean stock. But it's probably easier to convince a Singaporean, hey, the latest T-bill is 1.85%. How about I give you a crypto or Bitcoin back in with 50 more basis points than what the T-bill offers. I think Singaporeans, all the boomers they also like this product. And ILPs also, right? Because I think even by and large ILP, you are just you are mostly just stock market data. I don't see how the ILPs can outperform the way crypto is moving if they're just going to say like, oh, emerging world and stuff like that, Asian assets.
Other than USD, are you looking into the 4 major other currencies like Japanese yen, German?
Yeah, I think because of the nature of our MAS reserves where our basket does not contain any yen, right? Unfortunately, we won't be able to go so far out of that. We do business with yen. Euro will still be a huge part of what we do. Yeah, US dollar. I think going forward it will be, where I see another innovation. Yeah, because we are the one place in the world where other than China, you can off-ramp yuan to Sing dollar to buy Bitcoin, right? We are the clearing center, and I rather buy Bitcoin in Singapore than buy property.
Yeah. So I think my last question was, what do you think about the rumor that quantum computer will one day break Bitcoin? Because your Bitcoin allocator, I can see.
Quantum computing will break PayNow before it breaks Bitcoin. Yeah. The banks will be in greater trouble before Bitcoin will be in trouble. I think that's the most important. Yeah.
That I shared the same view. So I shared with my friends that if that were to actually happen, I think all our money in our bank will be in trouble for sure.
Right. But the good thing, you one day you wake up, hey, you got more money than yourself.
Okay, so perhaps we can, if you have any questions, you can raise.
We have a question from online. It just says, if an entity is already registered in SG as MPI licensed, is this good enough to cover the new DTSP regulations?
Like regulation question.
You're not getting paid to answer this question.
What was the question again?
If an entity is already registered in Singapore as MPI licensed, is this good enough to cover the new regulations?
The thing is that MPI is overarching name for many categories of license. You have remittance, you have the merchant acquisition, of course DBT, right? So if they are re-licensed as a digital payment program, of course they need to follow it. It's more of the rest who are stuck in the middle and not sure what they want to do next, right? These are the ones in question. But again, today's session is not legal advisory. It's just to let people know, and then that's why I probably make some money from advising people as well. So yeah. So again, if you have further question on how to actually execute this, reach out to the association, right? And I'm always around.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. What's your take on as you look at the table points and like the level of CBDC level?
Actually, PayNow itself is already CBDC, right? It can be controlled. And then the real CBDC is CDC, right? I think that was the real one. But I think in Singapore, we don't need to have Sing dollar stablecoin for us to have CBDC. I think by and large that was the MAS position as well for a few years that they don't think that we need to have CBDCs replace the PayNow network, right? Ultimately, within Singapore, but I think cross-border usage of all the stable coins will inevitably touch XSGD, as shown by the volumes, XSGD. But for political reasons, I think in general, Singaporeans have been operating under a CBDC regime for quite a long already, right? Yeah, where Euro is trying to go, we have been doing that, and China has been doing that. You can call it CBDC by any new name, but in actual fact, I think that perhaps more appropriate thinking is, are we going to get purpose-bound money? I think purpose-bound money is a bit more worrying.
Any more questions? Okay, so thank you for your time.
Okay, that's very, very, I believe it's a much more interesting topic than what, sorry to say. Yeah, I also read regulations on like that. Even though I can talk about it and I've been doing it I think for a long. Unfortunately, in Singapore, Singapore is always very in Singapore, remember these things, everything is law by law, that's what you say, right? So if you follow law by law, you did something wrong, right? You also get caught. So that's how it works in Singapore. Okay, thanks for that amazing session. Interesting stuff, about where we go towards and all that. Again, right? Association wise and again, I'm just stopping here and always nothing is legal. Nothing is either legal advice or financial advice. Everything read out on your own, understand what is it about. Now, let's go on to the next interesting session, right? Pick up the slide. Now, this is where we share from two practitioners, right? People who are really deeply into the space. We have Zenao, CEO of the Bitcoin industry, he's going to share about what we do. And then, of course, Bobby Sim, VP of Dato Duran, right? Dato Duran is a very interesting topic, which I think, of course, I'll leave it to Bobby to actually share about this interesting project and all that. And of course, Bitcoin industry. But besides sharing about what they do, right, the thing is that because we've been talking about this now, a lot of people all, kind of like, I would say, close shop from Singapore, but they exited from Singapore. Now, where do they go, right? Then you have always the topic about going to Dubai, going to Hong Kong, everywhere else. But why not people consider our next door neighbor Malaysia, right? As much as you can just take the MRT train to Woodlands and walk across or take a bus across and you're in Malaysia, right? So it's interesting, right? For both gentlemen to have the running a business in that country to share the perspective about Malaysia itself, right? And also how the project prosper in Malaysia. Rather than usual thing about talking about Dubai. Sometimes everybody tell you Dubai easy. It's not easy. If you read the news every other day today, right? They've changed the laws dramatically, right? And again, Dubai is just one country in the whole UAE. And UAE Central Bank has overriding power over all other countries, right? Not just the local regulators, which is in this case Dubai or Abu Dhabi. A lot of people just like to think, oh, it's easy because everybody is there. But everybody is there just to do marketing. But when you start going down to regulation, start looking at all the stuff, right, it's not that simple. And some people say actually, if you look at it, at least MS is clear what they tell you to do. But in Dubai, it's not so straightforward. Hong Kong, right? Hong Kong, yes, they're coming with new regulations, getting very attractive. But for most people, there's always the thing that Hong Kong is called China. And China can change the law, right? So that's the thing. And personally, for myself, you are talking about overseas. My personal love is, of course, despite the fact it's far away and people say it's complicated, it's Europe, right? The MiCA license. Why? Because I spent a lot of time there dealing with the regulators, and it's actually quite far-reaching. In fact, if you were to do it correctly, you get your license in 41 days. That's the KPI given by the European regulators, 41 days to get a license versus 5 years, 6 years in Singapore, still waiting for MAS, right? So this kind of thing, yeah, is for you to find out, do more research, and then probably along the way we have to wait more sessions, right, about regulations and all that, and various values, right? So look forward to that. And yeah, so I shall not hold you back for more interesting topic and my boring droning about regulations. So let me, without further ado, let me first and foremost invite Mr. Zenal, CEO of Bitcoin Embassy here, and also Mr. Bobby Sim, VP of WQM. Okay, so yeah, let's start the topic about sharing about your companies. Then after that, we'll talk about the other.
Okay, so Bitcoin Embassy is an FI registered company in Singapore. We started during 2022. So what happened is actually during 2022, we are just a holding company. Only recently during 2005 that we started to venture out to more things because the company actually need money from it. So we started to venture into investing in startups related to Web3. We also venture into payment system related stuff for using Bitcoin and other coins tokens. But of course, we also venture into education and more than that. So it's quite slow. So if let's say you search Bitcoin Embassy, you can find that on Google, right? On Google itself, we are listed on the first page. So if you want more information, you can actually look through just searching Bitcoin Embassy and we are on the first page to find out more about us.
Yeah, so I'm Bobby. I think I would like to share a bit more about my personal journey and background. So I'm the financial in Singapore for like 10 years since the age of 22. Right, so I'm fortunate enough to interact with a lot of different financial products, insurance, LP, loan, different kind of products. The one thing that's always in my mind is that a lot of projections we have under Singapore regulations, like what Jeremy said just now, a lot of them couldn't achieve the returns. It's always like, hey, if I can achieve the lower end, it's enough, right? But the projection is very much higher. And then so went to crypto. Wow, there's so many projects, right? Everybody say you can make money from crypto. But actually I lose money instead. Because there's so many scam projects out there which I just randomly invest. So I'm a victim of crypto. But deep down I believe that the technology is great because it's a lot faster facilitation of treasury of finance. Business no longer have to wait for 3 days, 4 days to get a certain amount of money and you have to suffer straight costs. So I think the technology itself is really good. Right. So I think Dato Durian we created Dato Durian. Of course, firstly, I love Durian so much, right? The second thing is that we are not just a typical crypto product. We are not like, hey, come in and you will get 10x, 20x. No, we are backed by real business, right? I think everybody know, especially if you are Singaporean or Malaysian, that Durian is a very, very profitable product because each kg of Durian can worth $50, $60, $70, or even more, right? But you will never have the opportunity to access this in the traditional world. So I think the good thing about crypto is that I can combine the best of both worlds. I can give opportunity to people, investors, a chance to participate in Durian project. But at the same time, it's safe and secure. I think this is what we want to do. We want to really share that if you do the crypto the right way, you might not be a millionaire 10x, 20x, but you can earn very stable and secure yield from a product. And that's what Dato Durian is all about.
Okay, great sharing and interesting stuff, right? Compared to what I was talking about. But I think I want to go to the topic of because I understand that Zen, you're actually based in JB, right? For the special economic zone. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So then I'll just talk about because in Malaysia, right, two places, right? First and foremost KL, where everybody knows, and JB as well, where I think most Singaporeans go there for cheap petrol, right? As well as cheap food and all that. But I think a lot of things is happening in Malaysia right now. In JB, they are coming to the special economic zone. So even Singapore PM also went there to sign partnership agreements and all that, right? So it's interesting how they develop that space. And of course in KL, right? Given that in the next couple of weeks the Malaysian blockchain week is happening. And from what I know, right, a lot of Singaporeans are going there. It's a lot of attending that event because of I'm really good here in Singapore, But that's how I'm going to start the topic. So what I'm going to ask, two gentlemen to share their experience first and foremost for those who know about here and then the future.
Okay, so because of this ETSP new ruling, we have to escalate things quicker than usual because we were expecting that ETSP regulation will come in and the deadline will be end of 2025, but it somehow came quicker. In 30 days, we will move stuff related to ETSP. So our touch base first will be KL first. And then once the special economic zone has been fully built, we will move there. So that's why it's like the most convenient way to start off first because we are going to Malaysia. Yeah, so what happened is that I will be based in Malaysia probably during August time, about 4 days, because we want to send things over there and more. So our touch base will be there here first because this is the deadline. July is the time that we are supposed to move things related to DTSP there. Yeah. So Shenzhen, sorry, not Shenzhen. Johor, Singapore Special Economic Zone will only be the building that we have spent money on is about 10 millions. Will only be fully built in 2026 to the end. Yeah. So then by then we will move there. But for now, will be based in KL.
Yeah, I think there's two main zones right now in Malaysia, right? One is of course the Johor zone, which I'm not the most familiar because I'm not based in Johor. Second thing is of course the thing is Labuan Special Economic Zone, where a lot of initial crypto people just go there. Unfortunately, not to be affected by the recent change in Singapore because they're always based in Malaysia, right? I think seldom you see Singaporean travel to Malaysia and it's always for other ground. But the reason I think Malaysia has huge potential is because I think the government is very receptive and open to changes. Give an example, like CZ just came over to Malaysia and talked to the Prime Minister in April. And the Prime Minister actually, say something about being supportive of digital environment, digital economy, crypto, etc. So I think there's a lot of potential. And also in Labuan tax rate is actually very reasonable, very affordable as well. So there's a lot of reason why we want to do in Labuan as well. And the most important thing is because we want to be regulated under a structure, right? There's a lot of countries you can just open a crypto company, like even BVI, Panama, you can just open a company. It's simple, right? I had a company in Panama before as well, right? But it's just a company then there's no regulations, right? You will not be punished for doing things wrong. It's just for a lot of people to open a company there. But under Labuan, at least we need to follow certain rules and regulations. And this is very important for me is because I've been rugged enough to understand that everybody needs to be managed or need to be like regulatory compliance. I don't believe like contributing to a lot of what people think. Maybe it's a bit off topic, but I don't believe in fully decentralization. Right? I think decentralization are more for the experts. Why? Because I can easily get spend money off crypto without any bloody blocking me to transfer all the money. There's just so much risk in this centralization, right? If you ask me whether I will go for regulated exchange or decentralized exchange, I will take regulated exchange. Because I want my father to put money there because it's safer. So I think in this situation, Malaysia Labuan is good because at least we have a certain framework we need to follow. So it gives us a very clear idea of what we can do and what we can do.
Okay, thanks for that. Just to add on to that as well, right, about the thing is that why Singapore do this is not just because Singapore want to be atas or Singapore want to be kind of special. Unfortunately, the thing is that Singapore is the first to comply to what Financial Action Task Force, otherwise known as FATF, right, has presented many years back when I was still following FATF, and I don't really follow it personally because it's just following, right? But FATF has already targeted DeFi, decentralized finance, 2 years ago, right? They were actually trying to come up with regulations to regulate DeFi. How to regulate something that's decentralized? That's the question, right? So previously, a lot of crypto companies, they are not jurisdiction anywhere. They're just what you can't hang in the air. I mean, so if someone take your money, run away, you also don't know, right? So 2017 onwards has always happened, and then that has created a lot of kind of attention on that. Plus, of course, the most important thing that FATF looks out for is actually money laundering, right? Because if you don't know who is behind the thing, how do you know how to catch anyone or get someone accountable for, right? So, which is why FATF now demands that, or rather give the deadline, and this deadline is given to all countries and all regulators around the world to actually follow. Now, if you don't follow and you flout the deadline, then guess what happens? You become on the grey list. When you're in the grey list, right, there's a lot of restrictions about money in and money out of the country, which is why Dubai was on it. I think 2023, and they did a lot to get themselves out of the grey list, which is why Dubai has tightened the regulations here right now. It's not so straightforward because they do not want to go back to the grey list. Same for quite a number of countries as well. Now, it's no longer where you can just hang in the air and say I run a crypto company and then be happy with no. Now you have to be jurisdiction somewhere. Now there's a lot of jurisdiction as mentioned, right? Your EBI, your Cayman, and also frankly speaking, it's not cheap because I know the regulators in all these different island countries, right? Basically setting up is not cheap, and also getting the license is not cheap. But however, it's an option because you don't know where else to go. But now we are talking about Malaysia now, since Malaysia also a very attractive place to actually look into. So the thing is that setting up, being regulated is one thing. Now I want to ask the gentleman the question: how is the community? Because yes, easy to set up things, then go there, it's closed town, right? No one is there, also the problem. So I want to ask them, their business are being there, right? How's their experience with the community? Is it a great community, etc.? That's important because for these are certain project or even going out the ecosystem, right? We need people, right?
Okay, so this one is just based on how I communicate with people, then what I found out. Okay, so actually a lot of crypto community is actually moving from Singapore, right, to here itself. It's true because we have a group chat. This group chat consists of crypto project founders, startup, more. It's true that the community is actually moving to the next option that's just on river. And because it's simpler, it doesn't cost a bomb to just travel to Malaysia. Like what Bobby mentioned, is you take a bus $30, you can reach there. $30 yeah, so we all know why all the communities are doing this move, because firstly it's just cost of reaching. And secondly, they are crypto friendly. We don't know when the regulation will change as well. But crypto is decentralized. I would say it's very decentralized. We can move anywhere. It doesn't have to just be Malaysia. This is something that I think most of us will. That's why buy it, they can move anywhere. They don't need to just stay in Singapore, stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I personally think that the community is definitely great in Malaysia. I've met so many friends. I know Charlie mentioned about Malaysia blockchain. I think last year I went to Malaysia blockchain. There was it was fully banned, right? And I think a lot of them are very interested in how to grow the crypto narrative. And I think a lot of people don't know that there's actually quite a good number of billion-dollar crypto company in Malaysia. CoinGecko, right? Virgin Protocol, and then the co-founder of Jupiter is also from Malaysia. So in Malaysia, there's actually a lot of good companies, and there's a lot of good talent pool around as well. So you don't have to worry that you can't hire enough talent pool in Malaysia. I think it's more towards how you position yourself in Malaysia. And one thing I think I love Malaysia the most is sorry Singapore. I think the food is better in Malaysia. So it's just more easier for me to go to Malaysia and just eat all the food. So people ask me how do you travel, I say, the food itself is really one thing that I really love. So to me, the community in Malaysia is great. Right? There's a lot of events going on in Malaysia as well. They are all very friendly, and they are all really hungry to go more in crypto. I think that's very important. The risk, the kind of mindset you have in Malaysia is a bit different from Singapore as well.
Yes, definitely. So,
Talking about food is better, right?
I love Singapore food, but yes, I go Malaysia, I splurge is because I can eat a lot more with the same $1 I can eat 2 times, right? So okay, so yeah, definitely I can sense that, and from what I understand that the Malaysia launch for the upcoming events, right? Or even as you're speaking right now, seems like every day in Malaysia got 3-4 events happening. My friend is just messaging me say, hey, got events again in Malaysia. Every other day got events almost every day in KL. For the Malaysian blockchain week itself, which is I guess one of the more dominant for the country itself, there's like at least 10 other side events that's been scheduled in that week itself. That used to be, token 2049 is like 300 events per night, right? For the whole thing, right? I don't think this will happen is because don't quote me, and this is from someone who actually booked a booth from token 2049 this year, but they have received a guideline from MAS saying what you can say and what you cannot say. So there are people I heard already cancel their booth already. Imagine say I want to talk about my project, cannot talk. Then I hold the booth for what, right? Then if you are not able to sell a project, basically in the side events where people share the project, then pointless, right? So there are people who already cancelled their events, their side events. So I'm very keen to see what's the impact coming to token 2049 and how it actually moves up this particular MIC economy in Malaysia. So yeah, so that's the topic on that one. Okay, so next one is about talent because I think a lot of time last time when Singapore or together with MS was still very keen on selling Singapore as a product and still telling people Singapore is right to now totally keep quiet, right? Is one of the selling point of Singapore is talent. You have educated workforce, we have smart people like many people in the room today, also online as well, who are in the space who can articulate versus some countries that doesn't have that kind of expertise or talents, right? So my question is that, Malaysia, we always hear about, a lot of Malaysians coming to Singapore to work and all that, but, first from a personal perspective, I've met a lot of smart people in Malaysia as well, and they are in the space. So again, looking on others' experience, what do you think are the talents? Do we have the talents available in Malaysia to take this on?
Okay, not sure of the talent right now, but what I can share is that I think the special economic zone exists for two reasons. It will be more like a financial hub for crypto. So what happens is that Singapore, I would say Singapore's citizens itself probably will start to move to the special economic zone to start working. So it will utilize the Malaysia and as well as Singapore's talent to be in the special economic zone. So this is my view. I think most likely Singaporeans will start to move to Malaysia to start working. So this is the reality right now. That will be happening soon. Probably next year when you will see these things happening. A lot of crypto companies are like looking at special economic zone because they can't be in Singapore.
Yeah, so I think that's a bit I did just now already, but I think Malaysia, there's one very good thing is that previously I think Singapore is very popular also because we can speak Chinese and we can speak English. I think these two are very important language in the whole world right now. And it's always an advantage you can speak both. Right? But in Thailand, in Dubai, you might have them they can speak English, but you can speak certain other languages as well. So I think Malaysia in itself, this has a lot of advantage compared to other countries. Just because we all know how influential China is the whole global economy, right? So this is already a very attractive point. Not to mention, you mentioned just now, you give $1 here, you get $3 in Malaysia. So I'm gonna use it as a word because I'm showing Singapore is better, but it's not just because we have a higher expected value of the money spent. Right? With a similar amount of money in Malaysia to Singapore, we can maybe get 2 or 3 people. Right? So I think this is already a very good enough reason on why you should go Malaysia. Plus, I mentioned to you, there's many good Malaysian crypto company that's already in there, that's already doing well. So I think it just makes a lot of sense for company to consider Malaysia as one of the value as well. But one thing to take note is that I'm not going to share about good points. I want to share one thing about that. Quite point is that it's harder to get exported talent because the visa problem in Malaysia is not. If you want to hire local Malaysia, it's great, man. There's a lot of talent. But you don't want to get people to come over. There is some, like M2A, there's some good policies around. But it's not easy to hire normal daily staff in Malaysia to come over because the visa applications, everything is going to be heavy, right? Like some of it, we apply for 6 months, we just get it, it's not easy. Yeah, so these are some of the challenges you might have to navigate around in Malaysia as well.
Okay, thanks for that. About I think a very good point about the Chinese part because a lot of people in Singapore, especially the young kids, right? The Chinese cannot make it, have to go tuition and all that. After I die, I don't think my next generation can speak as good Chinese as me. So that's a very important point because I think a lot of projects they have a lot of projects, right? They have a lot of Chinese investors or Chinese project owners, right? So Malaysian Chinese, most of them they can speak Chinese and English together. In Singapore, Well, I say majority are mostly can speak English. Obviously, everybody can speak English very well in Singapore, but you only find a kind of a minority who speaks Chinese excellently well. The rest of them speak Chinese with a lot of English in between that none of the Chinese people can understand. So I think that's a good point. And yes, about the JD part, right? I think quoting an example, one crypto lawyer which I know, this guy, he actually moved to JB in I think recent 6 or 8 months. So the things that rental in Singapore, the condominium, right? $10,000 rental versus Singapore $10,000 versus he was renting one condo, big condo and landed property in renting for I think less than $2,000. Don't know where he reached out JD, but even though the difference. So he said, he basically is no longer that stressed. He don't have to go around chasing payment from all the little companies that owe him money, and he's still able to live a good life, right? But of course, with the special economic zone one, the RTS, the trade is actually technically speaking, you take from Shenton Way all the way to Woodlands, right? It's probably less than half an hour. So if we add the other probably 10-15 minutes to travel into JP, you're probably able to travel all the way from there to go to Shenton Way or Raffles Place, probably 40 minutes. Now, nowadays, you take a train all the way from Jurong all the way to town, it's also about 40 minutes as well. So it's actually, you can consider that, I mean, there's a lot of people considering that, given the cost of not just rental, but acquiring a place to stay and of course, your ability to drive your nice big car, you're paying that previously only in Singapore. So I think that's something to consider. Okay, before we end off the day, then I just want to, again, go through again about the gentleman. Again, I think just now you said a good point. There's always a good point, there's always a bad point, right? So I want to revisit. Okay, so we have spoke about all the good points about doing Malaysia. Now I want to revisit the kind of negative part of the thing Malaysia present, the challenges. I would say that point, challenges, correct please.
Well, the challenges is that yeah, I mean for myself, okay. So I've been living in Singapore for almost my whole life, but now with these changes, of course I have to be adapt to going overseas for a longer period of time. I think Bobby is also a Singaporean. He traveled 4 to 5 days and stay in Malaysia 4 to 5 days per week. So this is going to be my challenge as well because I'm not used to this now. That means every week you stay 4 to 5 days in Malaysia and probably not missing the food, but probably you'll miss the things they can do at home.
Find a girlfriend and you don't need that.
This is probably the challenge.
Yes, so I think in business perspective, like I mentioned, the first thing is the working visa. I think this is gonna be tough if you want to export more talents of other nationality to Malaysia. It's not say it's possible, definitely there's a way, it's just that there's more time consuming, more stuff you have to understand as well. I think secondly, the banking is also a small issue for them, right? Because not every bank is crypto friendly. Most of them is you put crypto, bye rejected, cannot open a bank account. So in terms of banking, financial line is able to understand the whole system, but there's still some with more restrictive to crypto as well. So you got to identify those and build yourself. And I think the third thing is, I think this is everybody kind of consider that, but I get kidnapped in Malaysia, right? I think this is a lot of misunderstanding. I think generally Malaysia is pretty safe. Right? If you identify places that is I would say safer in nature, actually it's fine. It's perfectly fine. I think KL as spot of tourism for companies okay. So I think safety is definitely not that bad. But there's still some concern, right? Because at the end of the day, still I would say a lot of stuff that you cannot mention in this year happening in Malaysia. So you got to understand the authority to know people inside Malaysia. So I think these are the three main problem things that company may face in Malaysia right now.
Okay, thank you. And I think we shall now open for question and answer. Yeah, so I think there's someone.
Yeah, we have some questions online. So this person is asking that they have many friends who have experienced huge economic losses from during investment, and they want to ask Bobby how you're planning to do differently from this.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So I need to share more about my project already, but I'm not selling anything today. Okay, I don't want to get my enemies. But regardless, right, so the big thing about tradition is every token that's on the market, there's no asset backing. you're selling a dream to people, whether it's a dream to become the biggest exchange or a dream to become whatever, right? It's always a dream. But for us, it's different, right? So our token is backed by the business share and also the land. I think which is the most important. This token is, once we mint the token, we no longer own the land anymore. The land belongs to all the token holder itself. So I think this is what we are trying to do. Right? In the event that even we are not around, the business can go on. So this is the main difference between us, right? As you can see, I actually built this project for around a year, but we haven't even launched it. Why? Because we just want to make sure that we are compliant, we are regulated, and we have the best investors' best interest at heart. And this is the reason why we just want to make sure everything is properly run.
Yeah, thank you.
That's all.
Okay.
Okay, any questions from the floor? Or from online? Feel free to ask. Okay, if not, then I think we end the session today for, again, just to clarify, end the session for ABAs, which is the Asia Blockchain Association's event. Thank you everyone for attending today. We end it here right now. However, do not go because we are here, waiting. We are waiting to listen to the next session. It's going to start in a couple of 10 minutes or so. Now, because we talk about about whether your investment get lost and not, the next topic, not directly from with ABA, is a session on sharing about horses. Right. So wait for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Already 10 minutes. We can actually start, and we'll be sharing on assets, horses as assets, and how it ties into NFTs and blockchain. And of course, for those who are here, the food is coming. And in true spirit of cryptocurrency, right? You know what's the food? Anyone know what's the food that we always link to crypto? Okay. So why? Because many years ago, when I still thought that Bitcoin was a scam, because early days in 2013, some fella come and my friend exactly, which I thought he's trying to scam me, right? He offered me 1,000 Bitcoin at $1,000. I nearly wanted to beat him up because I said, I'm your friend, you want to scam me, this is not rubbish. If I taken that $1,000, right, I would be here today. Yeah, I thought it was a scam, right? So I didn't take to that. Then 2015, I still think the scam until I realized that it is something that I need to learn. So 2015, I actually learned about it. That's when I actually got into blockchain and Bitcoin back in 2015. But yeah, I still haven't gone to it yet. So sorry about that. Yeah, so the thing is that, food is coming, pizza and Coke, which is our so-called sacred food for crypto people, right? Why? Because a lot of crypto people like to trade and all that. At night, right, you got food for pizza, right? And the easiest way is to eat your pizza in your Coke while staring at the screen of watching your Bitcoin go up or your crypto go up. So, yes, for those who are here and also online, they can stay on to the link. And then for those who are here, please stay on, the food is coming, right? The drinks are already in the fridge, nice and cold, your Coke and other drinks. And stay on. Thank you everyone for the first session. Thank you. Okay. Thank you.